Right, let's call the meeting to order. This is August meeting of the Bicycle Pedestrian Valley. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm Ed. Yeah.
Kevin Welch.
And Angela, we have you online.
Yeah.
So please.
Yeah, I'm Angela. Angela Hay.
Thank you. Following that, item 2 is opportunity for any oral communications for items not on the. So if anyone online or in the schoolhouse has something they'd like to bring up that is not going to be covered in the agenda, please go ahead. Darcy, I see our new town manager is stepping.
Hi, yes. I am Darcy Smith, and I'm the new town manager. I just wanted to pop into this exciting meeting. Favorite topics and areas for both personally. I'm an avid biker and hiker. I've done the American Ride. I survived Angela. But I'm here to town. I'm running the town government, but I just want you to know that I'm here to always open. I will give to you if you ever have any questions from issues with the town that I can help with. And I'm very committed to this town and values around biking and hiking and preserving ecology. I think that's sort of intertwined. So just reach out to me if you ever need anything. And I'd love to meet with any and all of you to learn what makes Portola Valley special, what you love about living here, what I can do to make it great. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Welcome, and thank you for making the effort to come to our meeting so early on in your started this week, correct? Yeah, so that's great. We look forward to working with you. I know the town centre stuff is sort of reinvigorating. Good things are happening, Robert, down here. And I'd like to make a shout out to our town staff from Newtown. Really efficient, great notices, notices for the meetings with everything all put. It's really encouraging to see. Okay, I'd like to move on. Now would be any other online items not on the agenda for public comment. Kevin, do you have anything? Nobody in the schoolhouse? No. Okay, move on to item 3, which is approve the minutes from our July 11th, 2025 meeting. Again, this was produced by yours truly, so all criticism is welcome. I hope I did a little more detail than the last occasion. But any comments? Angela, I'm sorry, I do note your name spelling was in. You mentioned. I didn't see it. Whereabouts is it? You said at the very beginning for the.
At the very, very beginning, the list of attendees.
Oh.
Hayes, H-A-Y.
Yes. H-E-Y. That probably was me, actually. So, or autocorrect step 2. Does anyone have any comment on the meeting minutes before we make a move to approve them? The online. Well, we have Patrick Taylor on. No? Okay. Well, pending spelling corrections. Move that we approve the minutes. If I could take a second, please.
I'll give you a second.
Thank you. And indication to approve the minutes. Approve.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all in favor. Thank you. Moving on to item 4. Patrick Taylor is with us today. I know he's been able to provide the traffic citation. Back and.
Kind of breaking up on my end, but I'm assuming it's time for the sheriff's citations information.
Yeah, we haven't had them for a few months.
Yes, I know. So the one I submitted last was the one from March until May, and so now, and then I'll prepare the June one for the next one, the next meeting. Do you want me to give them per month, or would you like them as a whole, or would you like the information?
I think at the moment, there will have a format. For future, I think it will continue as we did before and have
Yes.
process.
And future meetings will be monthly, but this one, I just compiled 3 months together, so.
That's perfectly fine. Thank
Okay, this one, in March, there was 9 citations. April had 24 citations and May had 6. Those are moving citations. Parking citations were 10 in March, 6 in April, 17 in May. Let's see if I can tell you if you would like the areas that are most for the moving citations, areas of concern, kind of usual places are Portola and Alpine intersection is kind of one of the areas that we have a lot of stop sign violations at, mostly during the morning and school time. That's kind of the heavy area that we've been focusing on. It's been the one that's been brought to the attention of a lot of the officers out there. Parking, most of the violations are the Willowbrook area again, Portola Road. So those are areas of concern that we usually have during most of our meetings. Collisions, we had, let's see, for collisions, we had 2 collisions in March. One of them involved a bicycle with minor injuries. We had 1 in April. And then we had none in May. No accidents in May. Let me
Where
just
were
go
the
through.
bike accidents? Are the crashes? Where are the crashes?
It seems like both of them were on Alpine Road. There was one in March on the 5th, Alpine Road, Golden Oak Drive. The driver was driving southbound on Golden Oak and stopped on the stop sign at the intersection of Golden Oak. The vehicle was then driving across Alpine Road from Golden Oak when they collided with the bicyclist. The bicyclist was riding east on Alpine Road and didn't see, or the driver in the vehicle did not see the bicyclist coming because of the dark clothing, and they had an accident. Let's see. The other one that was a bicycle accident was in April on the 10th. That involved a minor injury also. The minor injury can include anything from like where they're transported or just treated on scene from that person on scene. The driver was driving on Alpine Road approaching Los Trancos Road. Driver slowed down to complete the stop at the intersection, intending to make the left-hand turn on the southbound Los Trancos Road. The driver's visibility was partially blocked due to the sunlight, didn't see the oncoming bicyclist. They completed the turn approximately 5 miles an hour and struck the bicyclist. The driver got out and immediately helped the bicyclist at that point.
So the bicyclist was coming down Alpine or down Los Trancos?
It appears down Alpine Road.
Yeah.
They're making the
Because
left onto
that's
the
where
road.
most of our accidents are. Cyclists coming downhill, car crosses the path.
This one had the nature involved with the sun blocking their vision, so that's kind of a common thing that happens. That's most of the stats for the last 3 months.
Yes, we do. Didn't have them in time to put them in the packet. Actually, I think
But
I
no
did have them in
speeding
time.
citations.
We double check. I'll double check just to make sure I'm not misrepresenting, but. Stop sign, stop sign, stop sign. I don't see much for speeding on this one now.
But it's not that people aren't speeding, it's that they're not caught.
That's accurate. Or they were cited, so the officer has discretion too. They can cite them for something else. They may have stopped them for speeding and then cited them for state expired registration or something like that, so. May get a warning on the speeding ticket since that's something they often do to kind of give the driver a break on the speeding citation sometimes. Any other questions?
Yeah,
but
I
I
don't
think
think you
this-
should give any breaks for people speeding. Speeding is the #1 concern of residents, and one way we can either put barriers to slow down the traffic, or we can have law enforcement catching people for speeding. And I think if you caught a few people, it would help the whole speeding situation, which is very worrisome to a lot of residents.
I'll speak with the patrol sergeants and see what they can do about that. We have a motor unit too, so.
Yeah, I think it's the opinion of this. Good to see attention paid to. Do I speak for everybody? I think I do.
Yes, you do. I have a couple of questions for this.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Apparently, there's a lot of drivers out here that. Is there anything that we can do about that? Do we have to make a special ordinance, especially for Teslas? Yeah.
I'm sorry, you broke up
I'm more
like halfway
concerned.
through it.
Excuse me?
The mic cut out like halfway through it. I'm not sure if it's on my end or on your end, but I didn't hear what the
might-
issue was.
It might be, it
Kevin was asking,
cuts out.
can you hear me okay?
No, can you speak right into the microphone, very close to your mouth?
Yeah. How about now?
Much
Yeah, I
better.
can. Yes, I can hear.
I have a concern about front license plates. I know that a lot of new Teslas, e-cars, are not displaying front license plates. But I have had a couple of residents come to me. How are we going to catch the potential burglars or whatever, home invasion people if we don't have front license? Is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah, I mean, you can enforce the vehicle code for license plate issuance, or observation, but the cameras that we have involved, the ALPR cameras that are involved, take front and back pictures on the vehicles. So the absence of a front plate isn't necessarily going to be an issue in that sense. They take multiple pictures of the front and the rear of the vehicle. So any car going by is going to get that taken. So I mean, for that reason, for reasons of trying to investigate burglars and stuff, that's not hindering us. It is good to have it, and we can do more enforcement in that. I'm not saying we shouldn't do more enforcement. I'll bring that up there to the motor unit also. If that's something the town wants to see on their citations, is front plates and speeding.
Thank you. Yeah, very welcome. I have one more concern, and I'm not sure how aware the police department is, but I'm aware of what appears to be sort of gas-powered motorbikes, let's say miners, in various parts of town. Is the police department aware of that at all? Sheriff's department?
Like I think the new vehicle code that's out there right now, I think, and I believe I sent some stuff to the town before, but the current motorized, and that includes electric bikes or gas powered bikes, the new codes in the state of California. If it hasn't gone through, I can send you the information this week coming up, some additional information about that.
Okay. But I'm concerned for safety. I've seen individuals, in excess of 40 miles an hour. No license on the vehicle. And, I'm aware of a couple of neighborhoods where, say they lost the Corte Madera Triangle area. I'm aware of, and it's just concerning that somebody, because of not irresponsible, but unplanned juvenile behavior, let's say.
Yeah,
I don't know where the law falls on that, but it seems like it's contrary
so
to.
there's multiple. I don't mean to interrupt. If I'm kind of getting that cutout sound again. I don't mean to interrupt at all, Ed. But I think the issue is there are a whole lot of new guidelines that have come out from the state, and we're gonna start enforcing on those new guidelines. I'll talk with the motor unit that we have involved because they do a suppression details, and then I'll talk to the patrol sergeants and have them look into enforcing stuff, especially the guys that are driving 40 miles an hour minus the helmets. I know there's a lot of that going on too. A lot of the juveniles who are riding around on either on a motorized vehicle with a gas powered or electric. So I know we have a lot of issues with that going on right now. It's very it's not gray, but it's a newer issue that's been coming up. We haven't had that kind of a situation to deal with for a while. So I think it's something that they need to start paying more attention to.
We had it brought up at the CCAG bike committee, and a class 3 e-bike needs a license. The person needs to have a driving license. And I think it's a lot of parents actually don't understand what licenses are needed at what level.
We put out a couple blasts on our social media stuff to the sheriff's office about the different restrictions involving different e-bikes and to try to educate the community. It's kind of, I think it's getting a little bit. I saw actually on the way home one day, I saw somebody out on the highway on one. So I mean, it's getting kind of out of control with these electric bikes. But we're gonna look into it. So I'll have them pay attention to that into the town.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a request from council member. Broadcast it as well, please.
I'm
Is it
sorry,
so-
Ed, you broke up again. What was that again?
Could you provide that information to? Welcome to.
Yes,
Directly
I'll
to
send it
me,
over.
and then I can help distribute.
Sounds good. I'll do that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I think the last thing we have, Kevin, you have one more thing?
Yeah, I do. Our Sots to Tots race is on September 20th. Is there a possibility that we can reserve the signs earlier so that we can start posting that at least 2 weeks prior to the race?
The digital signs.
That's correct.
Yes, we'll get them out there. We've already began to compile different reserves and volunteers on our end to help out and to put out some notices for our personnel to be there during the event. I've talked to our community service officers and we're going to put signs out again. Are you looking to put them in the same spot as last time?
That would be great. I know they came out a few days before, but if we can get them out 2 weeks before, people coming in, the gardeners and so forth, would be aware that those roads are going to be closed for that period of time.
Okay. I'll make sure I'll talk to them again today or this upcoming week and have them out there. Probably starting earlier, like closer to September, I guess.
That would be great. We can never get that information by somebody. Better chance we have to catch many people as possible,
Yes.
the better we're off. So, and thank you. I know you and I have already discussed via. So, thanks to the sheriff's department for the safe and fun event with your guys' help. So, thank you for that.
We'll be out there again this year, so help out as best we can.
If anybody else hasn't, move on and let you get back to your day. Anything else? No, in the room, online? No. Thank you, Sergeant Taylor.
Thank you all for your help, and I'll see you guys next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right. I had put a slot in here on our next. I didn't.
Ed, can you talk into the microphone close too? Because your head keeps going away. It's too low for you. The microphone's too low.
Okay, how's that? Is that any better?
Yes.
Now I'm going to breathe on it. That's good. Sorry. Our next item would be the Public Works update. But I actually need to discipline myself to reach out. See back. Thank you, Darcy.
Hi, yes, Darcy Smith, Town Manager, very close to the mic. Robert is working, but I think he had a conflict this morning. And I'll tell you, in the last week, I haven't learned of any urgent town updates, but I just want to add briefly that we do have a town. So there were a couple things discussed here that would be great content for the town newsletter. So I would just, the only update I have is that we're really trying to work and improve our communication and other meetings. Read the newsletter. We have other mechanisms, the forum, and honestly, just spreading word of mouth. We have the next week, so we could get information out that way. But that said, I am very interested in communicating out some of the items that just came up. I guess have any idea or even just content for our newsletter, please send it to me and I'll make sure it gets to the right place.
Okay, fantastic. I think we could definitely help to do that. I know Angela and surveys and invitation for a resident opinion, safety matters out on the forum, but a call on the newsletter to draw attention to that would probably be a good way to go as well.
Yeah, and articles. So what I heard in this short meeting was we need an article about e-bike safety, requirements for licenses, new state laws.
Yep.
be honest, we might want to also send that to the school district and the local PTA to where I live, there are lots of minors who use that to get to school. And to be honest, the school, our partner, and
That's a very good point.
yeah. And also with school starting back up in a few weeks, sheriff's office, and I can track it down. I can go to their social media site and interface with their PIO to get some good reminders about school safety. Because for the kids that don't walk or bike, which I amazing. E-bikes is sort of, if you have a longer bike ride, you might do that. And then parents drive, right? Especially younger kids. So we need to make sure we're good partners with the district around safety. And then last I heard, the Thoughts to Tots run, that was the signage. I'm running that run. So I will not PR. It will be a little slow, but I used to be an avid runner. So, and would love to get pieces out about that, especially the letter and then.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I can be the interface and working with Robert around. And just in closing, Robert and I got out for a hike this week. And we are committed to getting out and exploring the town more. And another area of interest that we're trying, mapping the, and that's really a safety issue in part to me, just
Mhm.
people know which trails are approved by the town for which purposes. Because one thing I've heard already is that those e-bikes are on,
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
are.
and I've also heard about dogs being on trail, off leash on. And again, as an avid biker, who's been in bike accidents and a hiker who's had, bikes race past me and had dogs loose, I totally personally relate to these issues and just want to make sure we're doing.
That's great. I mean, this is exactly the kind of interaction that we previous eras of the committee. Very exciting. Yeah.
Great. So if you have newsletter ideas, send them to me. If you have content, send it to me. Or if you just say, like, this was great. Sheriff's office puts it on social, I can track.
Okay, I can certainly help you find those things if they come to me. And I'm looking for have an idea of what.
It can be variable. Our newsletter needs to be brief, if
Yep.
it's too long, people won't read it. But we have a wealth of information on web pages. So one thing is overview in the newsletter and then link to
Yeah, a bullet point and a link or a,
so really like 2 paragraphs, like the maximum
Yeah.
folks want to read,
makes sense.
go to another and learn more.
Great. I look forward to that. That's a very good step forward.
Great. Okay. So always email me at Portola if you need anything and have content.
D Smith with no
D Smith.
period, right? It's just
D. Smith.
all
Okay.
one word, like the other formats.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. So it looks like we can figure out those panels. One of our primary goals in our charter is to improve work together on those things. That's all to the good. The main problem we've had over the last, I would say, 5 years is just proper channel of communication with the town to the resident, making those things work in a consistent way. There've been, good months and good years and bad years, but it's not been a consistent level. Okay, let's move on to item 6. Ongoing committee business. The first of these is purely informational, and that's the reason we're here today. Thank you to town council and to town staff for agendizing council to a regular meeting Fridays, first Friday of each month. That's now officially in our charter and will be the format for future meetings. No comments. I think everybody agreed that. And thank you very much for accommodating. Item 6B is just update and matters arising on local roadway safety plan. I know there was some email traffic yesterday on the final revision. Angela, do you have any more comment? on
Yeah,
that?
I'm sorry I
Or from
didn't get it
Rebecca?
out sooner. Pat finished it a week ago, her review, and I was actually just too weak to look at it with COVID, and I thought it's a long file, so it was on a drive. I am happy to share it with the town manager and Robert Burt or anyone else who wants to have a look at it. It's in draft form at the moment. Rebecca Flynn was looking at it, and maybe Rebecca's the latest to look at it and has words.
Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I got it late last night. So I did get through almost all of it, but it got late. So it's an excellent document and all of the efforts Angela and Pat and the rest of the committee have put into this document. It is
It's mostly Angela. Big kudos to them.
there are a number of little tiny edits that still need to be done. I've gone through, like I said, back to Angela so they can do kind of a final pass through, small typos, small like figure. There's a few Britishisms in like the parking, like the car park versus things that are more British terminology.
Oh my goodness, these words only come up after
Did you sneak
40
roundabout
years
in
in the
there? Haven't read
country,
it.
right?
Huh?
Did we sneak roundabout in there?
There are roundabouts, but I think that's a pretty not common.
I never
here.
realized car park was not an Americanism.
I only know this because in my car, the Apple Maps or Google Maps, I have it on an Australian voice. And so it always says the car park. So anyway, it's a great document and I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that I guess probably the makes the most sense to have it come back your September 1st meeting with the final version in and then we can request add it to the. Does that sound like a good?
Yeah, Rebecca, if when you've finished it, just when you've finished your edits, I'll clean up the things, the numbers and the figures and things like that, and then I'll send out a thing to the town manager and Robert Burt.
Okay, that's fine. Do we need to have it come back into? Yes, I know you.
That was going to be.
I guess the whole
One
bike
more.
committee should look at it.
I mean, you have approved it. There are no major changes, right, from the last time you approved it. But I think it would be nice for the guests to have it in your packet, just so that memorialized, if you will, as the final version is at least included in that, even if
Yeah.
it's on
That-
or
That's a
whatever.
fair point.
There doesn't need to be a big, long discussion, but
No, if we're willing to accept that cadence of time for then presumably the first meeting in September for the council. I don't know what date that would fall on, but if that's acceptable,
maybe the
then
So the important thing is to get it on the town
Yes.
council agenda. I can't hear a thing.
yeah, sorry, there's
Helen
discussion in the
Walter.
background with not at microphones. Moment, please.
Hi, Helen Walter. Good morning. So first of all, I'll reiterate again, amazing first draft that I saw. I haven't seen the. Thank you for you guys have done. I do because of grants that are open implant A. But these are the things we need it done so that we can point to it to say, for grants. And there are some grants that are open for October, so we might obviously we want to make sure we get it right. We don't want to rush it. At the same time, we might want to send it up to council sooner, just to make sure that it's available as if the town is applying. So I just thought I'd mention that.
There's
know,
a
there
clean
are-
air grant that closes August, you remind me. And that
I'm
we
sorry?
could get bike racks for outside the town hall, I think, on that. Outside the schoolhouse, we don't have any bike racks. I think we should
I'm
apply
sorry,
on
I
it.
couldn't tell which grant you said.
I don't. I think it's a Clean Air Act grant of some kind,
So-
and it's only for a little money. But I think we should. I think we should apply, and I think the deadline is like in a few days.
Well, the parking management grant closes today at 4, for instance. And then the Transportation Authority has another grant that's open. I think it closes August 15th. So those are easier pots. Those are Measure A and W pots of money that we, and because we are a small town, we are in a small town in the coastal zone pot of money are bigger cities and bigger projects. But there is about, I believe, $8 or $30 million. I'm going to confuse them without my notes in front. But there's money available. There was a question in a meeting with the transportation representative last week. Pot of money will be available next year. So it would be us to try to get some applications in, if possible, if we know what we want to do, but I'm not sure we do. So
And that's specifically grants, apply for grants from which body?
the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, which Measure A and Measure W grants, which is a sales tax, voter approved ballot measure that,
Okay,
so
yeah, thanks for the context.
Yeah. thank you.
If I can just relay what was being discussed in the background, I think the suggestion is that we reach for a target date to submit in time for the 7th council meeting. If the authors and editors feel that that's a reasonable length of time to complete the work. Yep. Which would bring us into the middle of next week. Angela, do you think that's feasible?
Yeah,
On your
Yeah,
end
I
for
think so.
editing? Okay,
I think so.
that would be great, and thank you again. Yeah, so plan for 2 weeks ahead of that. Okay, item 6C, we've discussed this before, but I just want to put it onto the agenda for, and I'd like when we have the opportunity for more resident input on this as well. And that is signage for road safety awareness for wildlife. So the idea here would that we would have some sensitively designed and placed signage at the entrance to warning that and then as more information comes to light, perhaps highlight that at specific areas where wildlife are prevalent or more common.
We have, maybe we should have some kind of a contest. We don't have a budget. I know that.
Right.
Maybe the school should have a contest, because that would be as you come into the front of Portola Valley, both roads on Portola as well as Alpine would be noticed with wildlife. And we've already discussed this a little bit, and it has to be rustic, simple. And go right below where you enter the town corridor.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I'm sure there's much more to say on that. We would want, and we would need to work more closely conservation committee on those things as well.
Mhm.
'Cause that's an aesthetic question for them as well to consider.
Yeah. And I've actually noticed, yesterday I was driving down the road and a lot of deer crossing prior areas. With all that construction going in there, used to be a herd of deer in there. And they were grazing on that whole side field. And now they were crossing actually in the middle, 7 of them, at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think if weather gets warmer, we see the deer come down.
There was a
deer
baby
actually
deer that was
down.
knocked by the side of the road yesterday in the bike lane.
Oh,
Sad.
yeah, there was nearly one also injured car in front of me on Portola Road. My horn, put my flashes on, let deers are crossing. But people aren't aware of that. And we're seeing at least 1 or 2 animals killed per week out here in Portola Valley.
When I drive, I try and pay about as much attention to the side of the road.
My question
think
is,
we
who's
can
the
do the same.
project manager for this? Is it a public works project? Is it
I
our
don't think
project?
I'm not
Who's
sure
in
there's anything
charge of it?
established yet. Trying to figure out what the path forward is here. It's been proposed and requested, and our new town manager is.
Yeah,
podium.
hi,
Thank
Darcy
you.
Smith, Town Manager again. So, great idea. And I was driving through town and saw a deceased animal. There's also been an issue raised on PB Forum about other wildlife being deceased from poisons. Yeah. Used in like, residential gardening. So what I wanted to obviously have is a collaborative partnership, community who are interested in this topic, and then the town, and then our local animal support services provider, Peninsula Humane. The town is required by law to have animal pay that group quite a bit of money. And one thing that's great about them, if you've ever been to their Peninsula Humane Services facility in Burlingame, the Santos Center, and I would actually encourage everyone now because it's an art facility, but one thing they actually do is wildlife support and wildlife education. So related to what I was talking about earlier about communication, I'm going to reach out to them, and this would be a town role to get some content for our newsletter. I actually had pigeons who laid eggs on my balcony. Call them and say, with these pigeon eggs, first of all, they were incredibly messy. But I wanted to make sure I was doing what I could to make took root on my balcony for a while. So I called them and they were incredibly helpful. So I want to call them back and ask them, one, can they get some content for our newsletter? Because I'm sure that, and again, we pay for their service. We're a partner agency. And then second, they might have some advice for us on the signage. And one thing about the signage that I want to recommend that's important is that there are laws governing signage. You can imagine on streets. Might botch this. The MUTCD, like Municipal Uniform Traffic Safety Laws. And so we just want to make sure we follow those. Having additional signage might be possible. One thing I'm working improving our very rustic town signage and making sure that those are consistent, the ones that say Valley. So that's a separate thing, but I will get in touch with them and see what is possible. So the signage would ultimately be but and some of it's very regulatory, but that said, any assistance you want to provide is appreciated. But let me just check base with Peninsula Humane Services and
Yep.
see
Thank you.
what
That's
they've
a
done. Yeah.
Very good angle for insight. We are doing this in their initiative.
Understood. Yeah. And I want to emphasize it's a multiple pronged.
Yep.
Signage is helpful, newsletters, information's helpful, and Councilmember Waltering has a add.
I will warn you that this
Thank you for everything. I will also add, we don't want signs, right? And we don't want to just put up signs everywhere.
absolutely.
Something that I've been thinking about that I haven't really talked about is we have $8 million sitting in the bank for acquisition parcel up on Skyline. But if we need any wildlife considerations.
Mm.
So that might be something. I do think that with the new at Corte Madera, for instance, the deer used to use that as a wildlife crossing. For instance, so so wildlife crossing areas, trying to figure out. We do have the deer seem to go everywhere, but there is from Foothill Park, I think over. We've got a corridor across Hawthorns and such, and across, for instance, that's not where we usually see, just Westridge, I think, headed toward.
Yeah, it's on a main arterial route.
Right.
For the most part.
Right, exactly. So we might want to think about where those wildlife crossings are, as well. And then if we need to think about acquisition, for the, the UT, UT, money, if we need to think about wildlife crossing potential acquisitions, which that's a bigger question, but I thought I'd raise it.
No, that's a very interesting angle, but mushrooms that interest item a great deal, but
Right.
not for a bad reason.
Right. So, as our town manager said, multi-pronged.
Thank you. I would caution the new town manager at the very beginning.
Well,
But
yeah.
we
just
welcome the
know
enthusiasm.
I am a resident. Some of this stuff is helpful just to me. Well, I'm not a resident of Portola Valley, but I'm a resident of your county. And so some of this is just for me to know. And one thing I enjoy is just getting ideas out there and then doing anything I can quickly. Does that make sense? I certainly can't
absolutely.
go like study the wildlife quarters, but getting in touch and getting content, for example, from a partner agency, that's very simple. I'd already have it. So I always say before we do the work, let's see if someone else has the work. That makes sense?
Very
Yeah.
much so.
So any ideas you have about that is very helpful. Yeah, we can't accomplish this all, but like I said, especially with traffic increasing back in session, to start thinking about awareness that we need to build as we move into fall and things get. That makes
I
sense.
think that's a great way to look at it. So
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I think that concludes our discussion. Good ideas on which into the minutes. I need to go back around again and talk to our friends and just see what they're doing. And I think I don't know where they stand on this at the moment. Recent meetings. Item 6D is council liaison. I don't know if you'd be willing to stand up, just give us a brief context on the areas for discussion here. I'm really just introducing this as a new item, nothing to be. But just to sketch things out and look at what the committee may be asked to do and what the committee thoughts and roles are on this.
Obviously the transportation demand management grant closes today at 4. But I did want this agendized for consideration if there is any, parking management down the road. We have parking hotspots, as the sheriff mentioned. We have, the Willowbrook area, I think is actually a safety concern. We've got Portola Road, also an area that's also a safety concern for bicyclists. Then we've got our parking lots at how to utilize that space. Lastly, the Alpine Inn, Zotz Field, that's a nightmare situation, right? And there are ways to manage parking, but can't just say, like if you do one thing somewhere, it can potentially push parking else.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I actually wish, and I ran out of bandwidth, could have submitted a grant to the transportation for a planning document to hire consultants, or people who do this for their living, and you use data and you figure out what, and often, excuse me, and oftentimes people need to be charged to which research has indicated is the primary tool often to, that carrot stick, and that's a stick. But then you have the funds to use for elsewhere to help with other areas, right? Um, and I don't know how we would want to maybe bike ped kind of improvements or something like that. But I wanted this agendized for conversation so that hopefully when that pot of money opens up again, right? Because the behavior, for instance, I've seen around Alpine Inn is, horrendous. I've seen like when the cars back up trying to get in there, I've seen like, I saw a few weeks ago, I saw someone get out of the car on the middle of Alpine Road, walk in to put, right? But they were like in the middle of Alpine Road.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm concerned in our recreation.
There's been a notable uptick in accidents at intersection as well on
Right.
Alpine Road and other Ostradero.
So I also, Penn Regional, near Roberts, it sounds like it hasn't been probable. And we just have a lot of parking issues. And I think we need a comprehensive, we also, need to work with our partners at the Alpine Inn and Mid-Penn Regional Open Space, for try to work to consider how, with Mid-Penn Regional Open Space coming in, they're going to have 3 parks in there in 10 to 20 to 30 years because of what's going to happen with this site behind town hall. Something is happening there. And so we need a long-term parking strategy, right? And shuttles are extraordinarily expensive. Mid-Penn Region is now looking at shuttles over on the coast or parks, but to give people a sense, this give Half Moon Bay guests like an Uber type service with that you pay like $1 or $2 and they come, called Ride Plus. So we have 2 shuttles on the coast side. And just to give people a sense of how expensive hours to have added 2 hours per day with 2 shuttles, with, was about $1.5 million, right? And with our town, with our budget of about 8 million, that's beyond our budgetary abilities.
Certainly going the opposite direction from.
Can't hear you, Ed.
Gain some revenue. I can hear myself perfectly well. And it's coming through the speakers here. The sound balance on this system is terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll repeat again. So previously on this topic have surrounded opportunities for increasing town revenue and, adding, looking or potential for these costly, quite on the other side of the balance book.
Well, but for instance, give you a sense, $1 parking lot at Poplar Beach, $10 per day, not use it all day. The city for revenue, and I think it's got about 40. That includes, I think 5 horse trailer sites, and they make about 150 to 200,000 per year in parking revenue, right?
Okay.
So, but again, I think we've got so many parking issues throughout town. I think it's going to get worse, as density grows elsewhere because there's higher density growing elsewhere. Like town, we have Palo Alto. Rena numbers was at 6,000 units. We're going to have more and more people are come to Portola Valley for our recreational opportunity, right? And I think parking is only going to get worse. So I do think having a parking management plan should be considered. And that's me personally, council has not discussed it. It has been slight, but that's why I wanted you guys to look at the item first and think about it and think about maybe, come up with sites, ideas, sites, hotspot sites that.
Yep.
Maybe think about opportunity Like, what would we like to see? Do we want to charge? No one wants to charge, but sometimes behavior shifts are needed and revenue generation is needed. Um, it's a community benefit, right? Do we want to partner or do we not want to partner with Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space potentially? I don't know if they would partner. Do we want to talk to Alpine Inn? How do we work with them? That's a, private versus a public agency.
Yep.
There are lots of questions for your committee to consider.
Thank you. I think that's absolutely true. I think
Yeah,
permit chair's privilege, and
thank you.
because otherwise I'll forget what I wanted to. First of all, our committee's priority is, we always look at things through that lens. Second is helping to maintain the town's role character and not change things too much, but change where we have to. And it's a balance of wanting to maintain being accessible to visitors and not be overwhelmed. And to, consider what the implication of changing a park, whether that really comes under a safety umbrella, or I suspect at the moment it's not really owned by any committee except it would fall to us because it's connected with traffic. That's my comment. Thank you.
I think, can I just add on top of that something that I didn't know, but because it's they call it like a station mode idea, right? Because it's traditionally people have driven, people will drive, 5 people will come and drive 5 different cars for. How do we promote carpooling? Excuse me. How do we reduce single car occupancy opportunity, and help promote walking, biking, rolling options? Does that make sense? And in a safe manner.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I've been involved in that for probably 35 years. You can't get people out of their car. That's our identity. Started in Hollywood. That's why we have, as you know, a Hollywood stop rather than a California stop. But I have a question. Question is, I don't know that much about Mid-Peninsula Open Space. They have a good piece of property right across Windy Hill Car Park. We used it for the Palooza. It worked great. It wasn't really convenient to some people, but it's a nice piece of property, especially that corridor where Portola and Alpine Road is, to take off the burden of us protecting the overflow Portola Road. Because when it's nice days, of course, in the fall, people start hiking Windy Hill and they park over in the overflow Portola Road and increase traffic. But if we can coordinate the Mid-Peninsula Open Space area right there.
There's a historical legacy with towns debating the conditional use permit for that site, and Mid-Pen originally wanted to use of that area as parking, but the town denied that in the initial planning application.
And even with the area where it's going to be open, park up there, it's going to be a tremendous problem.
Perhaps we're not talking about the same.
We're talking about the overflow we use for Palooza.
Palooza, yes, absolutely. That
There's a nice piece of property there,
in
right?
Mid-Pen's
Across from
origin-
Windy Hill Car Park. That's not being utilized by any. And it worked great for Palooza.
I'm sorry, where's the site?
So, if you turn into the driveway for Windy Hill here on Portola Road, on the right-hand side, there's a large meadow.
Right.
Originally, Mid-Pen had applied to have some of that available as parking. And I think that's something that would be easily revisited for this.
So, right. And I absolutely, that's a great opportunity, but that I don't remember every time we encourage more cars, it's worse for the greenhouse emissions. It's have safety issues kind of situation.
Absolutely.
I think that's why, I think that's a great opportunity.
It's one idea to explore. It's one piece of a very large puzzle.
Right, exactly. So that's why, I do think I wanted this agendized so that we suggestions about what hotspots, ways, what are the partnerships to, or, right?
We know a lot of this from legacy things, something perhaps a refresher of our original project and put that in the consider spending consultant money.
Right, exactly. So, and a, parking study, City of Half Moon Bay is applying for a parking study, for 200,000 for their downtown district, for instance. But that's,
For the cost of the study?
uh,
No chance. This committee
well,
would
but
not support
that's
that.
from the Transportation Authority,
Okay.
and that money is available. So it is expensive. Studies are expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's sticker shock, like all the prices, we did a transportation demand management planning document that was
Yeah.
250,000.
And that's for the city of Half Moon Bay, so that's
But these consultants, that's what we're up against.
Yeah.
What I want,
we don't have to employ them. It's my personal opinion. I know a lot of resident enmity towards hiring consultants. Town is looking. Let me just put it that way.
right. No, absolutely. Yep. So, but that, I hope the committee will, and, expertise and that kind of and options.
Absolutely. But I would consider, please use the committee's expertise. Definitely as an initial move.
Yep.
So that we could steer if there was need for a consultant.
Right. So
Yeah, we've had extensive traffic counts of traffic at the Alpine Hills car park. I can tell, Alpine Inn car park, that's 140 cars there. We've counted Willowbrook many, many times. We have counts on a lot of the traffic and parking. So we actually know that stuff.
right. I mean, and it'd be great if you're opportunity. That'd be fabulous, right? To save the money. The plan you just wrote is fabulous.
Yeah, we've got a lot of retired consultants in Portola Valley who've done consulting for serious companies. And, we're a volunteer town and run on volunteers, and we have to recruit volunteers to do a lot of stuff in this town.
And I appreciate all our volunteers. I absolutely create here and do. So if we can come up with a management plan for parking throughout the town and a community benefits, I'm excited by our new town managers benefits. So, there's a lot of expertise with, I think we could do it. So
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a
the
great idea.
classic book is Shoup's book on the high cost of free parking, which free parking is very costly when you look at the cost of land, and that's the classic book on it.
Right. It's extraordinarily expensive. To build a parking, they say it's like 70,000 per spot kind of idea, and but taxpayers are paying for it. Right. So how can we, create other, look at other options?
I have a question. I haven't involved with the parking at all. The Hawthorne project, apparently a lot of people involved. We know we're going to get more and more people out. Mid-Peninsula already owns that next to the car park there in Windy Hill. Why hasn't anybody come up with that idea to have a shuttle from that spot to the Hawthorne property? It's a little bit of a walk,
Yep.
but that's
So-
what people do out here.
Right. So I did have, I did tour, the Hawthorne's complex with Midpin a few weeks ago, and I did mention that that we were that we need parking help, right? So I did mention that, but they as our system is and fragmented. So Midpin's mission has not been parking and shuttles. Their mission has been protection of open space, right? And as well as and for a while it was acquisition. Now they're trying to open up their new parks. So, as their mission, as they look at opportunities and needs, But they only have one shuttle. They did look I was at a community meeting, gonna forget the name of the open space. It's off of 85. I'm going to think on the name of the open space over there.
Rancho San Antonio.
Thank you. Parking there has been extraordinarily problematic. And I was for that site, they were talking about shuttle. The community at that point said that they didn't want them, but apparently I talked to it were like looking at shuttles now at San Antonio, open space because of the parking issues. So I do think, having watched happen at San Antonio, like I've been in the town for over 40 years. And we live right next to the Willowbrook intersection. So I've seen the increase in parking issues at that site over the years. So it's going to continue. So that's, so it, as you said, it's part of the California fabric to drive, but it's also part of the California fabric to bike and walk. So let's look at opportunities. We have opportunities here.
So I thank you for bringing me back around to put this under a scenario. First thing to do is look at what are our patterns and use cases for visitors to town. Okay, so we have people coming for entertainment. We have people coming for little league games. We have people joining riding less. Have the bikers walk open space. So putting that together with revised numbers and revised, that's our starting point before you can change access, look at management for
Right. Absolutely. Having that data to help guide, it's obviously, on a cold night, the parking lot at Willowbrook and Alpine is, quieter than on a Saturday morning where you have people parked halfway down Willowbrook.
Yep, absolutely.
So, having that data to help guide, that always helps.
Okay, I think we've probably reached the point of not being able to solve this problem any further today, but it has opened the discussion. That's given us a. Kevin, you have a comment?
My comment is for safety and for the amount of traffic. And I don't know if anybody's approached that Mid-Peninsula corridor, that excess area over there. But boy, that should save a lot of problems here in Portola Valley. But we're encroaching on space. And they have the space over there. And they're putting in the new Hawthorne walking park and trails. Makes a lot of sense.
So it's
And it's really more convenient. It's more convenient for traffic in and out. It can hold a numbers of cars, probably say about 4 or 5 cars.
So it's a great idea. I would point out that, our scenic corridor that we want to protect in our view, to have miles and miles of parking lot.
Well, that's what they're going to have on Roberts.
And I gotta agree with you. We now have Alpine Inn, Alpine Hills, Willow Common, and we're gonna have Hawthorne's. Hawthorne's is better screened, but I am concerned about just that I don't want our town. I want our rural character. I don't want it to look like a used car lot up and down the road.
I agree with you. I'm
So-
fully in favor of what you're saying. But I think that we need a major area, like a major car park. And then from that car park, you can distribute from point A to point B.
So I love your park once strategy. Right? It's a park once. I've even been wondering if Caltrans would let us use the off of 280 ramp. There's the bit, at the Alpine, if you there's a lot
Yeah.
of parking. Like Caltrans probably would never let us use that as a park once, park and ride type of lot. But this is why I would love for the and the Sequoias, for instance, have a huge parking lot right? So what are our opportunities to create better parking throughout the town, right? because we have a parking problem, and I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Well, let's establish the patterns, let's throw all the ideas together. And start to see how that falls out. I think that's about as much as we can discuss up. I think whether it goes off and move.
Yep. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Where are we? The next item I have is on event permitting. Discussion for PV to host some multiple organized cycling events. I think we've discussed this item before. I put it on the previous agenda, but I don't. Yeah. I forget where this came from. Angela, do you have it?
Well, yes, it was rides like the Sequoia ride and all these. We wanted to know, well, what started it was when there was a ride from the Rosewood Hotel that we knew nothing about, and sound signs started popping up all over the town. And the question was, what guidelines were there? I know, for example, Pescadero says if there's a ride through the town, the arrows must be picked up off the road by that Monday. If there's a weekend ride, they have to be cleared by that Monday. I don't know if we have any rules on our permits, or I've never seen a permit for a ride, and I thought we wanted to know what permits were going through the town, who approves them, do they always get approved? You know, I'm not sure if there's a problem here with rides coming through the town. I mean, there have been ride problems in the past with resurfacing projects, for example, and someone wants to put a bike ride through the town. And when we had resurfacing and pipe work done on Portola Road, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure who approves, who applies, what it costs.
That's a good question. I can think of one potential disambiguation that might be useful here, and that is whether the ride organizers have a station or planned in town versus the ride simply just passing through on parts of its route.
Oh, well, there's the regular rides, but they're also the advertised rides for charity, right? They're different kinds of rides.
Two very different things, and I'm thinking of the latter. And in the case where they've town centre for in the past, and presumably there's a permit process for that. But I'm not aware of it.
That's a question for the council. We had a ride approximately, 3 or 4 months ago in here,
It almost
and we didn't even
coincided
know
with
about it.
Oh, that was the one that Angela was.
Yeah, and they were posting all over the place on Portola Road and Alpine Road, so all these signs all of a sudden, nobody knew about it. And we contacted the town says, what? Didn't even know about it. We're not here. We live someplace else. So.
Darcy,
Hi,
please go ahead.
Darcy Smith, Town Manager again. So, lots of questions here. I don't have all the answers, so I'll just keep it at like a 30,000-foot level. To the extent an event is held on city right-of-way or city Alpine Road, not county streets and not, private streets, the town does have the authority, California Beach, our general laws to regulate the use of them. So, for example, if there's a construction project and they want to work in the street, or if PG&E wants to work in the street, we issue something. Part of that is, I got a question this week about encroachment permit or people mowing or maintaining brush, for example, in front of their property. And I think they had heard, hey, you need this encroachment permit. It costs at least $1,000. That's a lot. And my response was just, I can look into that, but it's usually just safety, right? So they're working in our right of way, and we would be liable if someone got fence, right? That if folks are staging in our right of way, if property, the number one rule of is to look at the risk and make sure we are not exposed. We have insurance, proper insurance. As you know, some of these rides, and I mentioned earlier, I did the American ride and I survived it, but it was scary, right? It was to the extent it's on a busy street, and that can happen here, right? We have safety is always top of mind as a government public servant. And so that's why the city can regulate it. Now, my guess is that some of these rides, it's that old saying, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Okay. So I'm not shocked to hear are putting up signs and happen almost in, but I've also worked for larger jurisdictions, AO, where there was a robust permitting process. And can I tell you that the police, in our case, the sheriff's department, was actively engaged in part because the Boston Marathon, these are often, unfortunately, targets for violence. It's going to be very cautious around, but also just around, probably not going to happen here, but I just want you to emphasize safety. So I don't have the answer as to whether we have what would normally call permit or a special event committee, or we've issued them, but at a baseline, I know we have encroachment permit. And of course, we've looked at the safety plan, the route. Sometimes we've said you route or like you look at it. We also don't want too many events, busy day, opening day. But more to come on this. I just want you to know the city has a lot of not have all the ordinances in place, but it could certainly a safety issue.
Okay, I will leave this item on
Yeah.
the agenda for.
These signs were put up like the day before,
So
really fast.
well, and another shall I say with signs earlier, there's an permanent signage, but also, and then there was over proliferation. Often they're left, and I've also, as an, again, cyclist and runner, I've also seen them spray paint on trails. And that, I'll just tell you, that's again, sort of proliferation. It's really hard to remove spray paint. And this town, again, doesn't want someone marking up our right of way. The general usage, just, for spray paint, if you do, of course, that's important to know where gas lines are underground or whatever, if there's work being done, but it's not appropriate to have, our beautiful, in many cases, pavement marked up. So for example, the town could have guidelines of what's,
I think the burden then still falls on the town to approach the organizing bodies. Say,
well, so
"Look,
that
we
too.
need
So
to do this," because otherwise they just do what.
yeah. So my ending request is, you are my eyes and ears in the community. And I always say, if you see something, say something. So you are more than welcome. If you hear, to let me know and I can figure out what they're doing. And obviously I'll work with Robert. So Robert is this right away and trails. And I guess I would especially emphasize if anything is on, because this could happen where you have an organized event. Again, it would be not just a casual hiking group, PV hikes, which I'm the hike this month, but an organized, even if it's a nonprofit and they're charging a donation, that means it's an right. And that with that comes responsibilities for indemnification, for managing their risk.
That's a clear distinguishing point.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize, I've worked in town, the city engineer and the appropriate staff, probably even sheriff's office. We love your idea of the raise money for this organization walk or bike ride, but you just can't do it without the proper planning and permits in place. And we have told them, so I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but what I also told them is we fully support your event. It sounds great. But yeah, before you advertise it widely on Facebook, have to go work with you and get all the appropriate insurance permits in place. So just send me anything you hear.
Yeah,
I will personally figure it out and talk to them.
yeah. I mean, the focus here is, from our point of view, is how do we help these things safely, not conflict,
Yes.
and not conflict with them.
Yes, yes.
with
And
other events.
ultimately we may need like a special would coordinate with you, like an ad hoc committee to make sure these are being run right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Darcy. That's a very, very good insight. Our next two items remaining would be safe routes to school and alternative infrastructure. I don't know if, Angela, do you have any further updates on either of those two items?
Oh,
or could we-
the alternative transport infrastructure. I think that morphed into our planning committee, but you know, I did just send out the e-bike, an e-bike flyer to our town manager and to you, Ed. So, you know, if we're talking about alternative transport infrastructure, one thing I would like to bring up is Christchurch. In their car park along Portola Road are building a rest stop for cyclists. I have no idea what planning permission has been given there. There's going to be a water fountain and I'm not sure if they're bike racks. I guess if it's less than 4 feet high, maybe there's no need for planning permission. But I would say that there's going to be a bike rest stop there, taking up 2 car parking spaces at Christchurch. And it's got green paint already on the car park there of where things are going to go. That was the last I saw of it. So that's bike rack infrastructure. And the other thing was I thought we should apply for a grant for bike racks outside the town centre.
That's great. Thank you, Angela. I think I'm gonna move quickly on and draw things to a close. Item 7 is our update on events. I think our main focus at the moment is Zots, which is I've been in touch with the Parks and Recs Committee, Patty Dews, Aaron Askey, already discussing our organizing that. I'll key you into this as well. Kevin as commissioner already reached out to the Sheriff's Department, that they for us, spoken to for CERT, the Community Response Team. They're very keen to join and provide us with a great deal number of volunteers to help marshal spots on the route, and also they're fully first aid trained, so they're very, very useful. We did have a minor incident last year where they were able to help fortunately nothing like a serious injury, help them out. And also they get a benefit of really enjoying a proper event in the field rather than training exercise. So they're keen to put their training to practice. So hoping to keep all those wheels meshing together before we. Nothing more to say about that at the moment, but the major pieces appeared. That's good. Do I have any more matters arising from the meeting? I'm conscious of our overrun being so significant. Okay, in which case I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Our next scheduled meeting, I said extraordinary, that should not be in the regular meeting. It would be September the 5th at 8:15. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your patience and